Heyo gamers, Duck of the Stars here, as promised, back with yet another video. You can probably tell by the length of this video that this isn't going to be as big as some of my other, more heavier projects. That's because I did just get off of school, which means that this first video is going to be a little bit lighter than usual. But don't worry, I have some big ideas for the coming weeks that I will start as soon as I'm done with this project. So this video will be more akin to the setup video that I posted last year, but I will have a full collection video coming in probably sometime in June, just when I have the time to sit down, edit, and show off everything I have. So without further ado, let's take a look at all the changes that I was able to make to my collection in the last year. I will note that this is still a work in progress, as many collections are, so there are still some things that I am unhappy about, such as my cable management. I get it, I'm working on it. Alright, no more stalling, let's go ahead and take a look. Easily the biggest and most prominent change you will see is that I now have all of my retro consoles on display and of course hooked up to the TV. It is probably equally as noticeable that my cable management for these consoles are especially bad, and that is my next project here in terms of the collection, is making sure that these cables are not only out of the way, but also not under any kind of strain, which a few of them are, unfortunately. You'll see that I do have them all connected to AV splitters, which does mean that they are all on composite. I do have an HDMI adapter for the Wii. However, I'm not too keen on using that until I can figure out the rest of these cables. It's not a big deal for me. I'm not one to complain about poor quality, because that's what most games looked like for me growing up anyways. Now, as for the rest of the collection, in terms of my more modern consoles, you'll notice that it's pretty much the same as it used to be. However, there is one big change, and that is that I got both a soundbar and a bass speaker. The soundbar did mean that I had to move my Switch OLED and my Xbox Series S. Don't worry, you will not see them in this video, but they are still around and being used. However, I find that I of course only need one Switch at a time, and I would much rather have the OLED be my go-to for handheld gaming because the screen is much better than that of the original Switch. So for the actual shelf, of course, that's going to be relatively similar in terms of what goes on the shelf. Of course, it's the games. However, I think in my previous video, I had a bunch of the gaming-related items at the bottom of my IKEA shelf. However, with my retro consoles on display and being plugged in, I would also like to display my retro collection, which means that I actually had to pull my original black shelf. I do believe it's in some of my earlier videos, but I had to pull that out of storage, bring it back from the dead, just to hold the rest of my retro collection. Of course, in a minute here, you will see that there are also those same items that were once held on the bottom of my silver shelf, now on the black shelf. And as I was saying, you can see that there are things such as Legos and Amiibo. The Amiibo will actually go to a different location. Hopefully I'll be able to show that part of my collection a little bit later. However, I only have retro games and the non-console related objects here, but of course still relate to video games, such as a couple extra controllers, the Pokemon Adventures, as you can probably see, Stadia and Luna, and my Steam controller and Steam Link, which I really probably ought to do a follow-up video on, considering 100 of you are subscribed from that video alone, which is crazy to me. Thanks for coming in and joining us. One of the quality of life improvements that I am very proud of is the fact that I now have most of my controllers in these nylon bags. It does mean that I don't get to display them as well, however, it keeps the dust away, and I know that a lot of people have complained about my ability to keep dust off of these controllers, which I can tell you is very hard to do when you have cats. So as you can see, there are quite a few things that have stayed the same and quite a few things that have changed quite drastically. And I have multiple approaches as to what I want to do next. If you guys think that my collection has any glaring issues, please let me know down in the comments so that I can pay more attention to said topics. I'm real excited about the additions I've been able to make to my collection because this will allow me to make more broad content. I'm not stuck to just a couple things now. I have a lot more ideas in my mind because now I have everything in my setup available to use for these videos, which means more content for you guys. For those who are wondering, on top of the full collection video I have in the works, I will also be focusing on 2 longer form videos such as the Tears of the Kingdom and the Five Nights at Freddy's movie, akin to those types of videos. And then of course for my Hearts of Iron fans, I'm not leaving you in the dust. I will be playing more Hearts of Iron 4, I will be recording it, and I will be posting it. So stay tuned for that. I could go on and on rambling about the things that I want to do, but it's better if I just go ahead and start doing them. So with that being said, I will see you guys in the next one.